A young film student contacts an artist to design a poster for his new documentary about a musician. The film student was named Todd Phillips. The musician was named G.G. Allen. And the artist was named John Wayne Gacy, who just happens to be an infamous serial killer who is known for dressing like a clown. This artistic contribution earned Gacy an executive producer credit, which gave the documentary some dark, morbid, twisted notoriety. Even though it's not like the subject matter of G.G. Allen needed any. But yeah, that's right, the director of Joker got his start thanks to a real-life murderous clown. Because real life is really f***ed up, and sometimes all we can do is laugh. And thanks to director Todd Phillips, we've been able to do a lot of laughing throughout the years. Director Todd Phillips went on to bring us some of the most interesting and hilarious films of the past few decades. The dude was pumping out groundbreaking blockbusters left and right for years, surprising us all with classics like The Hangover and Joker, and instantly disappointing us all with their sequels. But has Mr. Todd Phillips sung his last great cinematic song, or told his last great cinematic joke, or made his last great cinematic cinema? I don't know. What the f*** happened to Todd Phillips?
We're good, streaky! Yeah!
Oh! Motherfucker!
Alright, what the fuck, man?
But to truly understand what the f*** happened to filmmaker Todd Phillips, we must begin at the beginning, and the beginning began when he was born on his birthday, 1970, New York City. Todd's attraction to chaos and controversy was evident from the start. Funny enough, this film school dropout made a documentary while at NYU that went on to become one of the highest-grossing student films ever made.
Film Threat Video presented documentary by Todd Phillips.
It's kind of like going to see the most bizarre freak show you'd ever want to see in your life.
Hate it. A rock and roll overdose.
By the way, a great documentary called G.G. Allen. You saw it. Remember
forget
that was Todd's film.
That was
That's
yours?
great. Yeah. I love that film.
Phillips would continue his documentary hot streak by making a film about the band Phish and co-directing Frat House, which won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance. This non-fiction college fraternity flick would allow Todd Phillips to make some fiction college fraternity flicks, like Road Trip and Old School. This resulted in what scholars have called the Frat Pack. And for a time, this group of funny people would change the way Hollywood made comedy film. This elite circle of cinematic comedians seemed to center around superstars like Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn, but it was really all thanks to Todd. He would next write and direct Starsky and Hutch, which was surprisingly decent, followed up by the forgettable School for Scoundrels. He did direct a little bit of Borat, but dropped out due to creative differences. But Todd Phillips still received an Oscar nomination for helping craft the screenplay, and I'm putting screenplay in quotations because, it's Borat. And then, out of seemingly nowhere came The Hangover in 2008, a time when audiences were desperate for something new in the comedy realm, and we didn't even know it. I still remember sitting there in a packed theater on opening weekend with constant laughter throughout the whole frickin' movie. Everyone in that audience could feel that we were witnessing something special. We may kind of take it for granted now, but at the time, The Hangover was refreshingly rebellious. The chemistry of the cast, the delivery of the jokes, the outrageous situations, it was completely bonkers yet completely believable. Just a masterclass in cinematic comedy. Of course, we loved the frat pack stuff, but it was time to wake up and feel this beautiful hangover. which just happens to be made by the same Joker who gave us those frat pack movies. And the thing I like most about the films of Todd Phillips is that they're unexpectedly beautiful. He seems to know exactly which lens to use to elevate the punchline, or just, set the mood. The Hangover went on to become a Golden Globe-nominated blockbuster with over $400 million at the box office. But it seemed like the mega success hit Todd a little too fast and furious, which led to misguided sequels and a forgettable, weak Hangover imitation called Due Date. Which sure, Due Date made lots of money and was just fine, but it gave us the feeling like Todd Phillips was now stuck as an artist. He couldn't just keep making Hangover clones forever, Even though I have to say Hangover Part 3 is an underrated course correction, which unfortunately has been completely overshadowed by the atrocious Part 2, Hangover Folie à Deux.
It happened again.
Don't say that. Please.
No, this time we really fucked up.
So it was time for Todd Phillips to kind of take a step back and look at his career and look into himself and find what he really wants to do now. And Todd, he felt like it was time for something different. And that is exactly what the film War Dogs was. Sometimes when you're known for comedies and you want to get a little dramatic, you can't just completely dive into the drama pool. You need to make a transition film. Movies that have drama at their core, but still dip a toe, or even a whole foot into comedy. I guess I should have just said dramedy. But dramatic films that have just enough comedy in it for the marketing team to allow a few laughs in the trailer. War Dogs is an interesting film that didn't get enough attention. It asks questions and it gets dark, cause, war and stuff. Revealing to many that Todd Phillips was not just that Hangover dude, not just a comedian with a camera, but a full-fledged filmmaker.
Listen, all you are as a director ultimately is the purveyor of tone, as you kind of alluded to before. So this is definitely a trickier tone than what I've done before because of that balance with comedy and drama.
So it seemed like Todd Phillips was completely done with comedy. Or at least he thought that comedy was done for, people like him. And what do I mean by people like him? I mean, funny people from the old school. That's right, Todd Phillips was one of the first celebrities to speak out against woke culture and criticize how there seems to be unofficial rules in comedy now, and how everybody is a little too focused on being politically correct, which apparently is one of the things that forced him to take a few steps away from the genre of comedy. Todd Phillips felt like he just couldn't tell a joke anymore. And that's why nothing could prepare us for the next film and the next joke that Mr. Phillips would tell.
Oh, no, you cannot joke about that.
Yeah, that's not funny, Arthur. That's not the kind of humor we do on this show.
He would deliver Joker, an art house film disguised as a comic book movie, and a comic book movie disguised as an art house film. It's a wonderful Scorsese-influenced character study / commentary on mental health and society, which somehow became a pop cultural juggernaut of monumental proportions, making $1 billion, winning Oscars, and sparked fear and conversation that only the most powerful of art can produce. In a way, it was the perfect movie to come out in that perfect moment of time. Once again, Todd Phillips gave audiences exactly what they wanted even though they didn't know they wanted it. Like a Joker origin story not starring Heath Ledger, directed by the Hangover guy. I didn't fucking want that shit, but when I got that shit, I loved it. It was everything I ever wanted in a movie, taking all the things that I love about movies and all my favorite types of films, gritty movies from the 70s and comic book movies, and just mashing it together into a strange one-man clown show that climaxed in a riot. The first Joker was something special. It seemed like Todd Phillips' whole career was leading to this moment, to make a film about a broken man trying to tell a broken joke in a broken society. It's beautiful, it's haunting, and it's instantly iconic. Phillips directs a complex protagonist with absolute grace. It's a once-in-a-lifetime film that should never, ever, ever, ever get a sequel, but it fucking did. Todd Phillips' Hangover Part 2'd the Joker, literally assaulting the character to the point of no return. Bringing us to Joker, Folie à Deux, a musical mess of a movie that seems to hate itself and hates everything the original stood for, or at least hates the audience for liking the first one. Once again, it looks beautiful, but that just isn't enough. And I don't even mind it being a musical. Joker 1 was very musical. It won a freaking Oscar for its music, so making it a, semi-musical, it makes sense. It's just the lack of soul and the brutal unraveling of what we thought was an interesting character. But I guess the joke's on us. Maybe years from now, we will finally be enlightened enough to understand what Todd was trying to say with Joker 2. But you know what? Once again, I think Quentin Tarantino has said it best. He actually liked the movie and said that the Joker directed that movie. And when you think about it like that, then yeah, Todd Phillips told the ultimate cinematic joke and became the Joker himself, which is something only a madman or a genius could do. And maybe, just maybe, you need to be a little bit of both to make movies like Todd Phillips.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
He is the man who taught us that comedies don't always have to be shot in a still, flat style. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but Todd, he lets his lights, his colors, his cameras help tell the joke and help bring out the emotion needed with every angle and every movement. The visuals of comedies can be just as cinematic and just as dramatic as dramas or action. Todd Phillips changed the way we look at the genre of comedy twice, with Old School and Hangover, and maybe even 3 or 4 times if you include the Joker movies, and maybe even 5 times if you include Borat, maybe 6 if you're a really big road trip fan. What I'm trying to say is that this man has had his funny little fingers on the pulse and pulling the strings of our hearts and minds. You know, whenever it came to the conversation of what comedy is at that moment. And this man, he takes it to the point where it feels like he wanted to break comedy and tell the ultimate anti-joke, which is actually fucking hilarious and totally punk rock. Which, yeah, punk rock. That's where Todd Phillips got his start. But instead of G.G. Allen throwing poop at people, Todd Phillips is throwing poopy Joker sequels at people. And yeah, sure, that musical Joker sequel was a horrendous flop. And sure, his Hulk Hogan, Chris Hemsworth biopic probably is never ever gonna happen. But that will not keep Todd Phillips down. I know this man has a few more beautiful, disgusting, disturbing, poetic, and hilarious jokes to tell us. And a few more great films to make. So nobody should give a fuck about what the fuck happened to Todd Phillips, because he's doing just fine. Ha 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 ha.